Good morning. Paul and I are here in Brownsdale in Trinity Bay this morning. It's about a 45-minute drive over from Carbonear, and we've just been enjoying the beach here this morning. And ordinarily, this is in the wintertime, this would be all rocks, no sand here at all. But it's beautiful this year, and I'm sure lots of people are enjoying it. My wife tells me from time to time that I overthink things, and she's right. If you want someone to take something small and pull it apart and make a big pile of perhaps nothing out of it, I'm your guy. And that quite often gets me in trouble. And some people may think that I have some sort of character defect and that something that I need to fix there. But I don't buy into that. I would rather think that there's something there that I can redeem, that I can use somehow to the glory of God and perhaps see God in new ways. And I've discovered that, and that's through a thing called theological reflection. Bill Close, Reverend Dr. Bill Close, he was the president of the Atlantic School of Theology. And on one particular day, he was the guest lecturer in one of my classes. And Bill was also an amateur photographer. And so Bill brought in a lot of his pictures and he put them around the class. And then he invited us to think about, as we looked at those pictures, how we could see God in there, how could we hear God, and what kind of images that could we come up with. But also he was challenging us as well, that maybe it's not just photographs, but that there's art and there's music and poetry and whatever as ways that somehow we could use these tools to communicate the gospel message. Boom! I got it. This was tailor-made for my overthinking brain, and I thought this is something that I've been looking for. And so I thought, well, I could do a theological reflection on the beach here in Brownsdale this morning. Trudy and I lived here for about 20 years, and we built a house here and just in the background behind the church. One of the greatest memories of here is that it's close to the beach. And so we would lay in bed at night, and particularly when the wind was in south and from the northeast, and there were strong waves, every now and then we would hear this rolling wave and it would go thump on the beach. And then we would hear the water rush up the beach, and you would get this whooshing sound. And then after that, it was sort of a lull. There was a quietness. And then after that, these rocks would go tumbling down the beach as the water was sucked out into the cove once again. It was sort of violent, but at the same time there was something peaceful about that. And so the reflection piece for me was, that my faith in many ways is like the rounded rock. It probably started out something like that. And then eventually, through the pounding of the surf and everything else, all of the edges just got beaten off it. Well, I started out with a lot of edges. I started out with a lot of edges. And when I finished theological school, well, I knew everything. There wasn't a question I didn't know the answer to. And to prove that, they gave me a Master of Divinity. And I got the certificate to show for that. But hey, who can master what's unmasterable? Who can understand what can't possibly be understood? Not me, for certain. Hey, but 20 years ago, I did. I knew it all. But that came to a crashing end, I remember, on one particular morning when, for any number of times, I get called out of bed at 3 o'clock to go to the hospital to attend to a challenging and a bad situation. And I remember driving down the road and saying, God, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this anymore. Ministry had become a job, and in my attempt to save the world, I was the one who needed saving myself. And it was like there was a peace that came into the car. God shows up when you least expect it, and it doesn't duplicate it quite often. I mean, you think you go back and find the exact place where God spoke to you. Well, it doesn't always work that way. But that particular morning, peace came into the car. It was the presence of God. I've leaned into that peace ever since. That I needed to know that at the core of who I am, that Jesus is Lord. That Jesus is Lord in all things. And yes, I've had many edges of places that I've been challenged, and a lot of times those edges have needed to be knocked off. And so these days, perhaps in my faith, I would like to think that I'm getting more like that rock that when the waves roll up the beach in the wintertime, it tumbles up the beach, and then it tumbles back to the beach again, and it rolls with the waves and the challenges. And I think it's through adversity, it's through those challenges, when we get those corners knocked off, that we become more of who God is calling us to be. It's rounded, but it's firm that Jesus is Lord. Hey, Jesus was into this theological reflection piece. I mean, you read the Gospels, Jesus talks about seeds, and he talks about lamps, and he talks about birds and pearls and all of those things. The psalmist said, the heavens declare his glory. That let all the earth declare the praises of God. Let all the earth declare the praises of God. Jesus says, well, if people are not going to do it, then even the rocks will cry out. Now, how about that? That a rock can cry out to the Lord to declare his praise. I think that's something that's probably worth reflecting on. Have a great week.